Today's daf is Masechtas Nazir Daf Yud Zayin. We are at the top of Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the first line, the last word on the line, Esvei. So it is a little bit of a continuation from what the Gemara brought before on Daf Tezayin, Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. We had, if somebody is in a Beis HaKfaros and he's Mekabel Naziris while he's in Beis HaKfaros. So Rabbi Yochanan held his Chal Naziris right away. Rish Lakish said it's only Chal later on, and he would have to Mekabel Naziris again. So Rabbi Yochanan just finished asking a few kashas. One kasha was that you see that you like it. You see it's a malchus. Somebody the Tosefta says in Perak Beis Olachates Misha Yitame v'Nazar. Also legalech l'shasyan l'tam l'meisem, and he was gilach shasayayin and nitm l'meisem. It said in Tosefta is a sefer kazarbam. So Rabbi Yochanan asked Rish Lakish, if it's not chal, what's a sefer kazarbam? So Rish Lakish answered, you say it's talking about that he went out. He's yotze v'nichnas. He went out from the tumah, and he went back in. And then he went back in, and he's makabel on himself aziris before he re-entered. So in Mela he gets malchus because he's over on aziris. So now frek to Yochanan noch akash and Rish Lakish. Esvei Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Yochanan asks on Rish Lakish. The Brisa says, Ein bein tamei shenazar lenazir tar shenitma. There's no difference between tamei that tries to make an aziris, makabel himself aziris, to a nazir tar that gets tamei. There's no difference. Ella, the only difference is tamei shenazar shvi shaloi, a tamei that is makabel naziris his seventh day, which is a Yom Tefillah Oila Loi Laminyan. It goes into the cheshbon of the days of Naziris. So the seventh day is part of the Naziris. But the Nazir Tahar Shanitma, however, a Nazir Tahar that becomes Tamei, Ein Shvi Shaloi Oila Loi Laminyan. The seventh day is not included in the days of Naziris. Why? Because since he has a Nazir Torah that becomes Tamei, he has to bring Karbanos on the 8th day. And until he brings the Karbanos on the 8th day, he's considered a Nazir Tamei, so he can't count it as a Naziris. So, Frekter B'Yochanan, V'Yisal Kodayta Chaloi Chaylo, if you want to say that the Naziris is not Chal, that Tamei that's Nazar, the Naziris is not Chal, until he goes into the Kabbalah Naziris again, Amai Oilaloi, what's Pshat in the Brisa that says that the Yom HaShvi is Oilaloi, it's included in it's Amai Oilaloi. Why is it including in the days in Naziris, to count the days in Naziris? So Frekter B'Yochanan, why is the Shvi included in the minyan for a Nazir Tamei, if not for a Nazir, for someone that's Tamei, that's Nazar? L'chayra, he wasn't even Kabbalah Naziris yet, according to Rish Lakish. So why should the seventh day be included in the days in Naziris? So Zok the Gemara now is going to have a different explanation in the Machlekes of Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Amar Mar Bar Rabashi. Mar Rabashi says, Meichal legabi the chalois naziris being chal as long as the guy's still tuma kuli amali pligi dechayla. So everybody agrees that the naziris is chal right away if a tummy guy is mekabel naziris. And the Machlekes is, so everybody agrees that the naziris is chal right away, and he gets malchus if he drinks wine or if he takes a haircut. And also, when he's mitar himself, he doesn't have to go and Mekabel Naziris again. That everybody agrees. Talk to Gemara now. Elaki pligi, what's machlekes v'yochanan shlakish? Lemilki legabe to get malchus on tumah. That's the whole machlekes. V'yochanan Sar came to Choy, listen to Chal right away to Naziris. Lucky, you got malchus on tumah also. Rish Lakish says, he's standing in the basic forest now. No, loy lucky. The Chayla. And even though in Naziris is Chal legabe malchus for Yayin and Tegalachas, however, Lagabi Tumah Zakish Lakish is not Chal. So in Mela, it's not Shver, the last kasha we just had in the Gemara. Why? Because what was the last kasha? That Tosefta said that the Yom HaShvi for a Tamei Shenazar is Oila Minyan, Naziris. Zakish Lakish, you know why it's Oila? Because the Naziris is taka there. The only thing that's missing is that he's not getting Malchus on the Tumah. So Frek the Gemara Vayter, Zok the Gemara Vayter, Rabbi Yochanan is still asking, Esvei Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan asked Rish Lakish from the Mishnah. It says, Misha Nazar v'hu Beis HaKfaros. If he's Mekabel on himself in Naziris and he's in a Beis HaKfaros. So the Mishnah says, Afilu ha'yasham shloishim yoyim. Even if he's in the Beis HaKfaros 30 days, ein oilan loy min aminyan. So the Mishnah says that if he's in the base kfaras all these 30 days, it doesn't get included in the days of Naziris. The Aini may even carbon tuma, and he also does not bring a carbon tuma when he becomes tar. So Zakti Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Zadai, carbon tuma d'loy maisi. It's only legabe bring karbanis on the tuma. So only legabe that, it's more cool than regular nazir. Hamilka laki alei, there's mashma in the Mishnah that he does get malchus on tuma. And l'chayer like Rish Lakish says that's the only thing you don't get malchus for, is just for the tuma. That was Gemara's last pshat in the explanation of Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. And for the Gemara, bedinu d'loy listening, really the Tanataka should have said ain't a like. Bedinu the listening ain't a like. Taka, you're right. Should have said you don't get malchus. And like Rish Lakish holds. Ella, the reason why I didn't say Mishnah Kabbalah Mr. Seifa, because the Tana wants to say in the Seifa that Yotzav and Nichnas, that if he goes out of the base of Kfaras and he gets tar and he goes back in that very same day, then Oilaloi Minamini maybe carbon tama. And then that day that he becomes tar is Oilaloi Naziris and he brings a carbon tama. And that l'chayr is pashut, then the Tana doesn't even have to say over there it's pashut that he gets malchus because it's full-fledged. Nazir, he went out, he got tar, he come back in. Because he doesn't even bring a carbon tuma. I mean, he does bring a carbon tuma. So for sure he gets malchus. So therefore, the Tana also said in the Reisha, legabi carbon tuma, because that's what it said in the Seifa, but Avada Zat Gemara, no, it's lav dafka. You do get malchus also. You don't get malchus, I'm sorry, like Rish Lakish. Frek the Gemara Nachakash and Rish Lakish, Tashema, I'll bring you a raya from the Brisa. It says, Ein beitami shenazar, lenazir tara shenitma, el shetame shenazar, that a tummy that's nazar shvi shaloi is oil in the minion, like we said, and the nazar tar that's nitma is ain shvi shaloi oil in the minion. So Rabbi Yochanan Medayik from the Shmoyis Brisa ha lamalkus zev is ashavan. It's mashal gav the chi of malkus it becomes tummy. It's mashma a tummy shenazar and a nazar tar that's nitma. It's mashma that they have the same halacha, and even in tummy shenazar gets malkus. And now we're like Rish Lakish. Mashma not like Rish Lakish from the Dig in the Mishnah. Amalei, so Rish Lakish answered to Rabbi Yochanan, Loi, don't be medayik from the Brisa that they are equivalent to Gabi Chiyah Malchus. Rather say that Dafka Legabi counting the Yom Shvi there's a difference, but Legabi Letiglachas Zev is a Shavan. But Legabi Tiglachas and Tuma they're equal. That also a Tamish and Nazar is Megaleach on the 7th day. Like a regular he has a din like a regular nazir. Tamish and Nazir has a din like a regular nazir, the gabi teglachas and tama. So that's what the Mishnah is really coming to say, but not like gabi the malchus of tama. Avalinian malchus mai. Dr. Gemara, the gabi malchus, what's going to be the halacha? I'm going to have a different din. Zeh loike, the zayna like in a Tamish and Nazir, you'll say it's not like a Rish Lakish. So frek the Gemara. So the guy in Malchus Gemara is saying that the l'chayr is different. So frek the Gemara, Aybezoy l'snaya. Why didn't the Brisa taka say the chiluk in the? Why didn't the Brisa speak out? If you taka say like a Rish Lakish, you don't get that there's a difference. Tamish and Nazar and Nazar becomes Tamil. The guy the chiyuv Malchus and Tuma. Why didn't the Brisa taka speak it out? So Dr. Gemara with the Kante Kamayri. The Brisa is talking about takanas of Nazir to tell you when he starts to count his Naziris after he finishes his Tumah. So then there's a difference between a Nazir Tar and a person that's Tumah that's trying to become a Nazir. But so it's only talking about fixes. How do you fix? When do you start counting Nazir? But Kule Zak the Gemara to talking about when a guy stared his Naziris and he became Ois Nazir and his over on his Naziris b'mezid to say that one's Malchus and that one does not get Malchus for it, Lagabi Tumah, Lagabi the Salacha, that Chilik, Lagabi Kokulam we're not talking about, Loi Kamayri. We're only talking about the Kante to tell you when he could start counting his Naziris. Frek the Gemara one more, the Gemara is going to bring one more Raya, not like Rish Lakish, Tashma, we learned in the Brisa, Misha Yatame, V'Nazar, also Legaleach V'Lishtis Yain. V'Im Gilach, and if he does take a haircut for Shasa Yain, and Nitma Lamesa, and becomes Tam Lamesa, I read the Sefer Kazarbam. So it's clear in the Brisa that it was Nitma is Laika, not like Rish Lakish. Like the Gemara Tiyufta Taka Kasha, and we have no way to answer this Kasha Rish Lakish. Zok the Heilig Gemara Viter. It's going to be a new discussion in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to discuss Basically, there's halacha that a tummy that goes into the azara, somebody's tummy that goes into the azara, halacha is if he goes into the azara b'mezid, he's chayav kares. What about if he goes in when he's tahar and then he gets tummy in the azara while he's on the azara ba'inus? So the halacha is that he's not allowed to stay there. So what does he have to do? Right away, he has to go out as soon as possible, the shortest possible distance to get out, shortest possible route to get out of Zara, he has to go out. What happens if he still stays there? Halacha is chayiv kares. However, there is a halacha Moshe Sinai that he's only chayiv kares on waiting once he becomes tamei ba'inus in there. Only if he waits a shear of kadei shtachava. It has to be enough. It's called a shear of kadei shtachava. So it seems like there's a machlokes. Machlokes Amiram and Shvuas Daf Tezayin and Beis. What's the Shir Shtachava? There's a pasuk in Divrei Hayam and Beis, Perek Zayin pasuk Gimel. There's a long pasuk there. It says Chobanei Yisrael Roim Red Seish Chod Hashem Al Abayis Vayichur Apayim Artza Al Aritz Vayishtachava Yis Hashem K'Toy Kiloi L'Chazai. So it's a machlokes if it's a shir, the time that it takes to say the whole pasuk or the last part of the pasuk. But Kitzur, we're going to discuss over here in the Gemara that if a Nazir is in a Beis HaKvaris, if somebody makes himself a Nazir while he's in Beis HaKvaris, does it apply the same type of shear? Like he has whatever amount of time it is, a certain shear of time, he has to get out of there. So, Frak the Gemara, Bayi Rava, Rava's clearing a shali. Nazir v'hu Beis HaKvaris. If he's a Nazir and he's in a Beis HaKvaris, Mao, what's his din? Bayi Shehiyah, does he need a shear Shehiyah Kadeish Ta'achava in order to Lamalkus, to have Gerechi of Malkus? Oilai, there's no shear. Rather, if he waits there and somebody gives him Hasra, he warns him to get out, then he doesn't move, even if it's a short amount of time, whatever it is, he gets Malkus right away. So, Hechi Dami, in which Oifin is Rava Mesopikin? If it's talking about somebody that's in a Beis HaKvaris and he wants to become a Nazir, and they warn him, like Tinzar, they tell him don't become a Nazir, and he goes and does it anyway. He says, Hareini Nazir, Lamilu Shehiyah. So why do you need Shehiyah to be Malkus? He's Chayim Malkus right away, because Nazir my time Eloi Boy Shehiyah, the Kamasri Bay. They gave him Asra, he's even Asra Amazed. It's a Hachanami. Meaning it's not different than a Nazir Tahar that they warn him, don't become Tameh, and he gets Tameh. You don't need Shehiyah in that case. So in this case also, they warned him right away. Hachanami, Kamasabeh, they warned him. They should have been Mekabel Naziris. They should get Malkus right away. There shouldn't be a discussion even if, is there a shear? If he's over is Asra, he should get Malkus. So Zaktin Gemara, what is a Shaila Rav Bizai? So Ella Kegoin Shenichnas, it's talking about that a Nazir goes into Beis HaKvaris b'shida teva u'migdal. He goes in a box. So we have a shida teva u'migdal. So a shida is a very large box. A teva is a little bit of a smaller box, and a migdal is like a narrow, kind of looks like seems like it's a shape of like a cone. It gets like pointed at the top. So Zaktin Gemara, Rav is Zakt Rava. You know what the shaila is? The shaila is if he goes in the Beis HaKvaris in these three things, and they're all made out of wood, all made out of kliates, so they're not makabel tum in the Beis HaKvaris. But then, so he went into the Beis HaKvaris like that, so he's good, he's tar. But Ubachav Eru Para Bar Lamaziva, his friend came and dropped the floor from under him, Bal Karchai, and Mimele he became tamei from Tumas HaKever, because Allah is Tumas HaKever, is by Kas Va'ila, just go straight up. And he warned him to go out of there. His friend, whoever was there, gave him Asra, said go out, and he didn't go out. So that's when Dr. Moran, this is the case. This is when Rav is Masopik. Do you say that Ki Gemir and Shehiyah? When do you have a Lacham Moshe Sinai that there's a Din Shehiyah Kadei Shtachava? It's Dafka Beis Hamikdash, Avla Avroi, but outside the Beis Hamikdash it doesn't apply. For instance, in this case, Thomas Nazir Beis HaKvaris, and therefore he still gets Malkus, even if there's no shear of any sort of Shehiyah. But as soon as he gets Asra, he gets Malkus right away if he's over. What do you say? No, that maybe there's a Din Shehiyah, Kadei Shtachava, a basic forest for a Nazir, just like there is a Din Shehiyah, Din Shir on the Shehiyah for Tamei in the Azara. That becomes Tamei Ba'inus. Zakti Gemara, Teiku. we're not pushed the suffix. The Gemara doesn't come out with an answer, a clear answer. Zok the Gemara weiter. Boy Rav Ashi has a shaila. Nazar who would base akvaris. If he mekabel on himself the ziris and mishas goals some ziris, he finds himself in a base akvaris. So ton giluach eloi. Does he need to have giluach or not? So what's the shaila? Zok the Gemara kiboy teglachas. Do you say when does he need to have teglachas? It's only by tar shenitma. A nazir tar that becomes tummy, so that's when he needs to have teglachas. So to become a tamil zerusik because he's with tamil ziris. A tummy shenazar, where he never ever had a naziris to begin with. He was first tummy. Then loy, maybe he does not need teglachas. I don't know, maybe no. It's the same halacha like a regular nazir, and even a tummy shenazar has to have teglachas. So the Gemara Tashma, the Gemara tries to bring a raya from this. We see it says Misha Nazar who based akvaris. Misha says Afilo Hayisham Shleishim Yom. Even there 30 days, it does not get included in the days of counting for Naziris. For any mever carbon tumah, the Mishnah says it's not bringing carbon tumah since it's mekabel Naziris batuma. So Dr. Gemara carbon tumah lamaisi. It's mashma dafka carbon tumah doesn't bring. Aval galuchi boy, but the giluach, however, he is chayavid. Why? Because if he's not chayving geluach, then Tana should have told me also that he's not megaleach. So the Gemara, no, matam kamar. It's coming to say what matam ain't maybe carbon tumah. You know why he doesn't bring carbon tumah? Shum delay bagalucha, because he doesn't have the whole din teglachas. Therefore, it doesn't bring carbon tumah. So maybe they both go together. Zok the Gemara. Zok the Gemara Tashma, I'll bring you a raya. It says in the brisa, ein bein tamei shenazar. While he's tummy tries to become a nazar tarish nitma ella tamish nazar shvi shalai oilim in a minyan, like we saw before that the Bryce is saying that a tamish nazar the 7th day is included in the ziris, but nazar tahar shenitma the shvi is not oilim in a minyan because he has to still bring his karbanos on the 8th day and he can't count in the ziris until he actually is done with all bringing his karbanos. So Dr. Mara Mailav that hall the teglachas zevez ashavin. So that's only legabe. There's a difference if you count shvi shloi, but legabe didn't cut teglachas. I'll say that they're both equal, and they both have a din teglachas. Because if not, why didn't the Mishnah say that if they were different? Then the Mishnah says ein bein. This is the only difference. Let it say there's a difference legabe teglachas also, not just legabe yom shvi. So like the Gemara law, you can't be dying from the brisa that they are the same. Rather. So the Gemara, you can't be like anything legabe teglachas. The diuk, what the Mishnah is trying to say is that they're different legabe the yom hashvi being oilim in naziris. Where are they the same? Legabe malchus. Legabe malchus, if he's oilim in naziris, so that's where they're different. That's where they're equal. I'm sorry. That just like a nazir tar that becomes tummy gets malchus, so too a nazir tummy that's nazar also gets malchus on his stomach. Frekti Gemara, so it comes out the guy with malchus is the same. Our teglachas mai. What's going to be with the teglachas? What's going to be the halacha? Zeh megaleach v'zeh ein megaleach. So you're going to tell me that what? Maybe one has a din geluach and one does not have a din teglachas. So it was a l'snai Frekti Gemara. Why didn't the Tana say that there's a difference legabe the din teglachas between a tamish and nazar and a Torah and a Torah that makes itself that and a Torah shenitma. Zok the Gemara, Tana Shvi Shaloi, the Chol Mili. The Tana is coming to say the difference, the Chalukim between them, Legabi the Yom HaShvi, if it's included in the days of counting Naziris, V'chol Mili, and all its halachas. So Zok the Gemara, Tana Shvi Shaloi, V'chol Mili. So, meaning, Avadi will say that there is a difference legabe malchus, legabe the din teglachas. So you want to know why the Tana say it? Zot Gemara was already included in the difference that the Tana said that Yom HaShvi is included or not. Because if the Yom HaShvi is included, then the pshat is because there's no din teglachas. So Mashenkin of Yom HaShvi is not included is because he has a din teglachas. He has to bring karbanos. So Zot Gemara, it's all inclusive. Zot Gemara weiter. The Gemara is going to try to be poshet the suffix. If there's a difference legabe din teglachas from a brisa, a different brisa. The halacha is there's a halacha on Nazir. If a guy's a Nazir, then he becomes a Mitzayra. So he has to go through all the dinim of Mitzayra, but now he's being a Mitzayra and he's not a Nazir anymore. So the question is, once his days of being a Mitzayra Muchlet, so let me just be mark them a little bit. Dinim of Mitzayra. If somebody gets a nega teras, right? Somebody gets a nega. So there's a whole parasha of Mitzayra in the Torah. And so let's say this nega teras has a siman tuma, whatever the pasuk says it is. So the halacha is the kohen is betamim and he's called a Mitzayra muchlet. That's if it has simani tuma. Now if it does not have simani tuma, then the kohen locks him up for 1 week. That's called a Mitzayra musker. And the halacha is that a Mitzayra muchlet that gets healed from his teras, when he gets healed, he has to be Mitzayra himself like all the dinim of Tyrus and Mitzayra, which is the Mishnayos and the Mesechus Degam. So one of the halachas of his Tyra is that he cuts off all his hair on the first day that he becomes tar, and he washes his clothes and he's taival. Has to do with tefillah. And then he cuts his hair again on the 7th day, and he washes his clothes again, and he's taival. And on the 8th day, he brings 3 karbanas, a asham, a chatas, and a oila. So that's for a Mitzayra muchlet. If he had one of the Simanei Tumah, and he gets healed. Now, however, Mitzayra musker that becomes tar does not need taglachis or karbanas. And there's more chalukim, but those are the main chalukim. That a Mitzayra musker that gets healed, that gets tar, does not need taglachis karbanas. A Mitzayra that is, however, muchlet does bring taglachis and karbanas. So Zak the Gemara, Tashama, Ainli Ela Yemei Tumah Saishin Elam Minyan. I only know that the Yemei Tumah of a Nazir that becomes Tameh, a guy's a Nazir becomes Tumas Mace, that it's not included in days in Zuris. But Yemei Chilutai, but the days that a Nazir is a Mitzayra Muchlet. How do you know that they are not included in the days of Naziris? Maybe I'll tell you it's a Kal V'Chaimer. Why? Because Ma Yemei Tumah Sai Megaleach, just like the days of Tumah of a Nazir, he's Megaleach on the 7th day of when it becomes Tahar. Or maybe Carbon on the 8th day he would bring in Carbon. Af Yemei Chilutai, maybe by a Mitzayra Muchlet also Megaleach on the 1st and 7th day, and he brings a Carbon on the 8th day. And since they're equal Lagabe that they both have a Din Taglachas and Carbon, so maybe I'll say that they're also equal Lagabe this Din. And Mayimei Tamasai of a Nazir, it's not to amaze, is it's not including days in Naziris. So too, Ma'afimei Chilutai, I'll tell you maybe a Mitzayra Muchlet also does not count for his days as Naziris. Just like Suzak the Gemara, I want to shell too. Just like they have the same dinim. Legabe, the din of Karbanas and Taglachas, so maybe Legabe, the din of it being oila to a mini Naziris, just like by a Nazir, it's not included in days of Naziris. Maybe by a Mitzayra Muchlet, it's also not. Zat Gemara, Gemara's matcha loy. You can't learn out Yemei Chilutai from Yemei Tamasai, because I could tell you Marta Yemei Tamasai, if you say by Naziris it's not oila and minion, the reason is because you find that it's chamer. You find that a Nazir's days of Tumah are so chamer until Al Kedei Kacha you say Mavatal Behen Es HaKoidmin, that whatever he counted before he became Tameh, it's all Nespato with the Tumah. That's how strong the days of Tumah are for the Naziris. So Lefichach Ein Olim and Minin. So therefore it's not included in the Naziris. But Toimar Mechulut, I'll tell you by Mitzayra Muchlet, She'enim Mavatal HaKoidmin, where over there, whatever days in Naziris, they're not in a spot if he becomes Mitzayra Muchlet. Lefichach Olim and Minin. So maybe it's Mistaver that the days of that he's a Mitzayra Muchlet should not. Maybe it should be included in the days. You can include it in his Naziris, in the days that he's counting Naziris. Zakti Gemara loy. I'm sorry. So Kitzer, so Frak the Gemara there. So maybe you'll say that it is included in his minion of Naziris for by Mitzayra Muchlet. So Zakti Gemara Amrit. So So Dr. Gemara, is it mistava to say like this that Yemei Chilutoi should not be included? Should not be included in. I'm sorry. Is it mistava to say that Yemei Chilutoi should be included in the minyan? L'chayra, you should still be able to learn out that Yemei Chilutoi Mitzvah Mochlet should not be included in the minyan Naziris. Why? Because a man Nazir that's Mekabel Naziris, Bekever, in the base Akvaris, while he's still Tameh, Shesa'ari Royal Taglachas, where technically his hair has the ability to have the mitzvah Taglachas, and still you say Ein Oilim in Aminyan, his Yemei Tama are not counted towards the minyan of Naziris. So he's already a Nazir, and then he walks into Beis Akvaris. And technically he could do Guluach on that hair, because he already had Naziris on that, whatever that hair, the time he had that hair growing. And still you say it's Ein Oilim. So Yimechi Lutoi, She'ein Roi L'Taglachas, so a days that a guy is a Mitzvah Muchlet, whereas here does not have the ability to have Taglachas on it for Nazirus. Why? Because if he's a Mitzvah Muchlet, then his hair is being grown specifically for Taglachas of Mitzvah. So Dr. Mara like Kolshkin She'ein Oilim Minyan. So maybe I'll tell you the opposite. And for sure it's not Oilim Minyan Nazirus by Mitzvah Muchlet that's trying to be a Nazir. So Zok de Gemara, my love, isn't the intention of the Brisa that says that the Taglachas, the Zok de Gemara, my love, isn't the intention of the Brisa that the Brisa says, like I mean this Nakuda that the Brisa says that a hair of a Nazir is royal Taglachas. My love, isn't that talking about Taglachas Tuma? That he's Megaleach on the 7th day when he becomes a tar. So Zok the Gemara is saying, you see from this whole Shaka of Ataria that a Nazir that becomes Tameh in the base of Kvaris, a Nazir that's Mekabel's Naziris in the base of Kvaris, you see from this whole Shaka of Ataria that he needs to have Taglachas. Because what's the Kal V'chomer we're saying here? Man Nazir Bekever, Shesari, that we said that his hair is royal Taglachas. So Dr. Mar, what kind of Nazir is that talking about? It's talking about a guy that is already a Nazir and is Mekamel in his Naziris in the base of Kfaris, and was saying that technically it has the ability to have Taglachas on it. So Ibazah, you give you Peshet, Rav Ashi's original suffix was, if the guy is Nazar and he's Beis Akvaris, does he need to have Geluach Hanai? You see from this whole Shaka B'Tar, this Kal V'chomer, that he passes Taglachas on it. So and for the Gemara Loi, the Gemara is Matchet, that it's not talking about, the Kavanah of the Brisa is not like Abe Taglachas Tuma, rather Taglachas Tahira. It's talking about the Taglachas of Tahira that would be at the end of his Naziris. And the Kal V'chomer is that Malach Nazir in the base of Kvaris that could be Mekayim on his hair Taglachas of Tahira, because it's not being Megaleach. So that's the Gemara's Dechiyah. The Gemara is saying it's not talking about Taglachas Tuma, it's talking about Taglachas Tahira. So the Gemara Hachinam Mistaber. It's also Mistaber to say from the Brisa itself, you see that the intention of the Brisa is talking about Taglachas Tahira. How do you see that? Isal Kadaitach. If you want to say that the Kavanah of the Brisa is Taglachas Tuma, so then you could ask, Yimei Chiluto Milaboy Taglachas. Do you not need to have Taglachas on Yemei Tumah because it's Taras? Because if it's going on Yemei Tumah, then L'chayra a Mitzvah does get Taglachas on Yemei Tumah. So it must be going on Taglachas of Tahira. So Zakh Gemara Loi, it's not a Raya. Why? Because I could tell you about the Brisa is talking about Taglachas Tumah. And this that it says in the Brisa that in Yemei Chiluto it doesn't pass Taglachas in the Naziris Ketani. That means the Kavanah of the Brisa is talking about it doesn't pass Taglachas, it's talking about the Taglachas of Naziris, because only Nazir that's in the base of Kvaris could have Taglachas Tumah in the Naziris. Mashiach Mitzayra, it's not possible to have Taglachas Midin Naziris because he has his own Taglachas Midin Mitzayra.